I've walked you through a couple of technical processes for creating a couple of logos, I want to get back to the fun part of just drawing in Illustrator. So, as I typically do, at the end of each chapter, I want to give you a challenge. Your way to prove to me you're really learning these processes. So, what I'm going to do is go to File and New. I'm going to click Print Letter, or 8.5 by 11. I want to make sure my measurements are set up as inches, and it's a vertical sheet of paper or a vertical artboard. I'll click Create, and then I want to challenge you to create an outdoor scene. So I'm going to go to File menu, Place, so you get to trace. On your desktop, I will go to Chapter 5, Folder 5.3, Draw the bunny scene. Draw the advanced bunny scene. So I'm going to click once right there. Check my options. No check marks. I will click Place, and I will click. Now again, I forgot this was a horizontal scan. So I'm just going to come here to my artboard tool. Click right up here for a horizontal page. Now I go to my black arrow and I just move the scan back on the page right there. All right, now the challenge is up to you. You know about layers. You know about symbols. You know about drawing characters in body parts. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is double click to the right. I'll make that a template at 30%. I make a brand new layer, and what I typically do is draw what's furthest away. So this one would be called Sky. Just like we did it on the whale or the sailboat scene, just like you did it on the alien scene, just each scene is getting a little more complex. So again, if you have a sky, D for default colors, click on the fill, hit the question mark key because it's not a white sky. Go with your rectangle. Remember to draw bigger than the illustration. So right out there, all the way down into the hills. You want to overlap your shapes. I can go to my swatches. Bottom left corner are swatch libraries. You have gradients and sky gradients. So I'll just go with something like this third gradient. I go to my gradient tool, start at the top, hold shift and drag down. Oops, that's the wrong way. So let's start at the bottom. Hold shift and drag up. So I get the darkness at the top. All right, cool. There's my sky. What I would suggest is every time you finish a layer, turn it off and save your progress. So File, Save As. The first time, save it as your last name, first name, bunny, scene. On my desktop, I'll save it as an Illustrator file, and I'll click OK. I don't need the sky gradient anymore, so I'll turn that off. The sky is done. I'll add another brand new layer. Always double click your layer names, and let's call that clouds. I showed you before on the sailboat scene, next to your swatches is brushes. Next to that is symbols. And in the bottom left corner are symbol libraries. You come down to nature. Okay, nature is going to have cloud number 1, you click. Cloud number 2, you click. Cloud number 3, you click. And you'll notice you've got some plants here. So I'll click that plant. Foliage number 2. I've got these little plants right here, which look like these leaves. Foliage number 1. I've got these little 3 collection blade of grass. So there's that little 3 collection blade of grass. grass number 2. Here's another little chunk, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blades of grass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll click on that one. So now I've got all my grass set up. I can also see a couple of daisies. Well, I don't see daisies right here. So I can close up this little nature panel. Go to my symbols again. Go to the bottom left corner, my libraries, and come down to flowers. There's a daisy. I'll click right there. If you want to throw in a couple other flowers, go for it. You know, if you want to throw in gerbera or a rose or whatever, hibiscus, throw in a couple other flowers. Make it your own scene. Okay, but if you want to do exactly what I did here, those are your clouds, foliage 1 or foliage 2, foliage 1, grass 2, grass 1, daisy. Okay, I'll let you learn how to do those. I would create a separate layer for each plant. Okay, you can never have enough layers. If you want clouds, you click and drag it in. See, that cloud kind of matches this one over here. Awesome. Click a cloud, drag it in. That one matches that one. Click a cloud, drag it in. Okay. So now the clouds are done. I turn off the eyeball, save my progress. Now, the next thing that's furthest away from me is these bright green hills. So I'm going to create another brand new layer. I'll call that bright green hills. D for default colors. Oops, I want to make a new layer. Here. Sorry. Bright green hills. There we go. D for default colors. Click on the white. Hit your question mark key. They're not white hills. Take your pen tool, and I'm going to start overlapping the hills way down here. They go up, then they come over, and right on the edge of the head, they go down. Now right on the edge of this head, they go up. I come over the hill. They go down. Outside the image. Down, across, and back to the start. With my eyedropper, I'll sample that green. I turn off the layer, save my progress. Now we have a slightly darker green hill right here. So I'll do another layer. You can call these whatever you want. Slightly darker green hill, you know, whatever you want. Hill number 1, hill number 2, hill number 3. Name your layers however you want them. Okay, this hill, D for default colors, question mark for no fill, and I'm going to start outside. Click and drag down, click and drag up, click and drag down, overlap, and back to the start. I'll take my eyedropper, sample that hill. Turn off the layer, save my progress. Then I'll do another layer. At this point, I'll just call this middle green hill. D for default colors, question mark for no fill. And now I'm going to overlap the edge of that hill. It's going to come up. Then it's going to come over and come back down. Then it's going to come over and come back up. Then it's going to come over and come back down and across and back to the start. Eyedrop the color. Turn off the layer. Save your progress. You get the idea. I'm just going to do the hills and the egg. You should be able to draw this on your own by now. So I'm going to do one more layer here. double click to the right because I don't like gray anchor points. I just make mine red. We'll just call this another green hill. D for default colors, question mark for no fill. I get very repetitive in my instructions here. Starts outside, it goes to the right. Now it comes down the hill right there. Then it turns and goes back up. Then it turns behind the bunny and goes back down, down, across, and back to the start. I drop that hill color. Turn off my eyeball. Save my progress. And we'll do one more final hill. I'll double click on the right. I don't like black anchor points, so I'll make them red again. They're just always easier for me to see. And I will call this one front hill. D for default colors, question mark for no fill. And I'll start right here. Outside. The hill goes down. Now it turns and comes back up. Right about there. Now it turns and goes back down and down and across and back to the start. If you missed an edge like right here, you take your white arrow, your editing tool. You can pull that point back a little bit, pull this direction line back up, and now we've got a better tracing of that hill. I drop the dark hill. Now let's turn on all my layers and see what I've created. A series of rolling hills because I'm drawing from what's furthest away, which means below, and then the next one closer goes above, the next one that's coming toward us goes above, the next one that comes toward us goes above, and the final one goes at the top. Okay, I have to turn these off, and now I have to look at where that bunny is, where those eggs are. Okay, so those eggs are going behind the front hill, which means I go below the front hill. I will create a brand new layer. I'm going to double click that name and I will call that egg 1. Hit return. And now I'm going to draw one big oval. D for default colors. Question mark key for no fill. And I'll switch to my ellipse tool. I'm just going to click and drag an ellipse. Go to my free transform tool. And now I go outside and I rotate it. I'll pull the top edge down along the top. I'll pull this side out. I'll pull this side out a little bit. And that looks like a pretty good tracing of that first egg right there. Okay, notice I have spots inside the egg. So I'm going to select it with my black arrow. Draw inside, right under that red slash. Draw inside. Now I'm going to take my eyedropper, click on orange, and I'm going to draw a bunch of circles or ovals. I'll start out here, click and drag right there. I'll start right here, click and drag. They don't have to be perfect circles, that's fine. If I start out here, click and drag. Start out here, click and drag. If it's not lining up, you hold your space bar to move it. Let go of your space bar to resize it. And we'll do one right there. And we'll do one right there. Now with my black arrow, when I click, it's telling me, I don't know which colors you want. Because when you click with your black arrow, you're selecting the egg and the spots. Well, the spots are orange. The egg is a different color. It doesn't know what to show me. So what I'm going to do is take my white arrow, click on the edge of the egg, take my eyedropper, sample the purple. There's your egg. Take my black arrow, double click outside, and that egg will sit in the scene. It goes behind the front hill because it's under the front hill. Okay, if you look closely, this egg is behind that one. So I go under egg number 1, create another brand new layer. I'll double click. We'll call that egg 2. I always like to draw with red anchor points. D for default colors, question mark for no fill, and I'm going to draw another ellipse. Go right out there. Free transform. I go outside and I rotate it. I can pull the side in, pull the top down if it's too far away, like that. And that looks pretty good for egg number 2. Okay, but I want to draw inside. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in with my black arrow, select it, and then I'm going to say draw inside, right underneath the red slash again. Draw inside. Now what I'm going to do is take my pen tool, okay, and I'm going to start by drawing, let's think of our stacking order here. So I'm going to start right out here. Click and drag down, come across that edge, click and drag up, and back to the start. I'll take my eyedropper, sample that green. Click once outside, just once. Click, that way the brackets are still showing. Now I'm going to take my eyedropper and click on the pink before I even draw. Pink. Now I take my pen tool. I'll start outside. Click and drag into the egg. Come across that edge. Click and drag outside the egg. Up and back to the start. But notice it covered up the green. So all I have to do is Object menu, arrange the way the shapes stack, and send it to the back of the green. Cool. Now I have 2 stripes. My white arrow will allow me to select the edge of the egg. I take my eyedropper and I sample the green of that egg. I now have a striped egg. My black arrow, double click outside. That gets rid of the brackets. And now let's see what I've got. 2 eggs in a scene. And what the heck, I'm having fun. I'm going to keep drawing eggs. I'm going to keep going here. Okay. Egg number 3 is behind the other 2. So I'll start below the other 2. Create another layer. Double click to the right. I don't want greenish anchor points in a green area. So I always tend to draw with red. They're just easier for me to see. And we'll call that egg 3. D for default colors whenever I'm starting on a brand new layer. Question mark for no fill. And I'm going to go to my ellipse again. I'm going to click and drag down. Go to my free transform and rotate it. Maybe squeeze it down right there and pull that edge down. Maybe rotate that back a little bit. There we go. That looks pretty darn close to what I need. I'm going to select it. Click draw inside right underneath the red slash. And now I'm going to come in with my pen tool. I'm going to start outside. Click and drag down. Come across that little pink curve. click and drag across, back to the start. I will eyedrop that color. Always click outside to deselect. I click once. D for default colors again. Click on the white, hit the question mark key, and now I have a zigzag. So I just start outside the egg. Click, 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 click. Go outside the egg, down and across. Click, 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 and back to the start. Eyedrop the zigzag. With my white arrow, as I did on the other two, I click outside, click right on the outer edge of the egg, eyedrop the third color. There we go. Double click outside with your black arrow. That gets rid of the brackets. And now all those eggs are sitting behind the hill. Save. I forgot to save. Okay, my last hint. I'm going to leave the bunny up to you. What I would do is a layer called bunny body. A layer underneath that called bunny foot. A layer behind that called bunny tail. A layer on top of that called bunny head. A layer on top of that called bunny eyes. Or you could do bunny face and draw the eyes, the nose, the mouth. I'd do a layer underneath the head called bunny ears. Okay. Here's one extra little trick. The bunny is all behind this top layer. So I'm going to start under the front hill. And I'm not going to draw the whole thing. I'm going to give you my last of my hints. I would create a brand new layer. Double click. We'll call that bunny ears. Okay. As I've said before, D for default colors. I know the ears are white, but I'm not going to fill them with white at the beginning. You only fill things when you're done drawing them. So I click on the white, hit the question mark key, and I zoom in. Okay. What I would do for these ears is always draw the biggest shape first. So I'm going to start by overlapping the head. They go behind the head, so you always overlap. Up, let go and move. Up, let go and move. Up, let go and move. Put a point before a sharp turn, in the middle of a sharp turn, and around a sharp turn. Let go and move. Here's point number 1 for a long curve. Here's point number 2 for a long curve. And here's point number 3 for a long curve. I draw right back to the start. I select it with my black arrow. The outlines should be 3. This bunny has a thicker outline. Okay. The outline is more gray, not black. So I can go to my swatches, click on the outline, and let's make it black, or kind of a gray. Maybe a 40% gray. Click outside. Now I'm going to draw the inside. D for default colors. I click on the white fill, hit the question mark key, and now I'll draw the inside. Click and drag 1 for a long curve. Click and drag 2 for a long curve. Click and drag 3 for a long curve. Option or Alt key. There's 1 for a long curve. Halfway down is 2 for a long curve. Option or Alt key to end at a corner. And I drag down for the third point on a long curve. Okay, always select it with your black arrow, and here's what you're going to be faced with. A bunny is a soft character. You don't want super sharp corners by setting this up to 3. That looks dangerous. Okay, so what you can do to give it a softer appearance is you select, you go to your stroke panel, click on the word stroke, and you hit the two middle buttons. Click, click. That makes a nice, soft, rounder corner. Okay, now I want a pink outline. So I click on the stroke, go over to my swatch or my color panel. I don't like these swatches, so I'm going to mix my own slightly darker pink right there. I click on the fill, and I pick a lighter pink up along near the top. Right there. Now that I've done the smaller color, now I fill the bigger shape. Click on the fill it white. Notice when I zoom out, I only drew one ear. This ear is a mirrored copy of this ear. I'm asking you to show me all the stuff that I've already taught you. I can select this left ear. Right here, as I've shown you before, instead of your rotate tool, you have a reflect tool. You put it right between the ears and you hold Option on a Mac or Alt on a PC and you click. The vertical axis between those two ears is right here, and you flip a copy. Why draw it twice when you can just flip a copy? Obviously, we don't want to see all of this junk. That's why you overlap your shapes. So above the bunny ears or in front of the bunny ears would be another layer called bunny head. If the head is the same white and the same gray, I'm just going to click right here. That samples the same white and the same gray. I click outside and then I make sure I'm drawing on the correct layer. Here's my ellipse. I start out here, click and drag, and as I've shown you before, once you get an object about the right size, you hold your space bar and you move your mouse. If it's not the right size, you only let go of the space bar and you pull your mouse. And now I can draw the head from starting anywhere on the page. It overlaps the tips of the ears. That's why you don't see all this ugliness. That's what overlapping is all about. Okay, that's what layers are all about, because I got to turn off the bunny head in order to see the rest of the face. That face sits on top of the head, so that would be a layer above the head. We'll just call that face details. I'm not going to show you how to draw these. That's just a black circle and a white circle on top. Reflect it. This little nose is drawn with the pen tool. This little line right here is drawn with the pen tool. Rounded ends of your lines is right up here on your stroke. You always click the two middle buttons. If you want a line with a sharp end, you hit D for default colors. Click on your white, hit the question mark key, and you draw one line down the middle like this. I'll draw one point there, let go and move, one point there. I'm going to hold Command on my Mac and click. That'll be Control click with the PC to deselect. I let go of my keyboard and now I draw the other whisker. One point that goes up, come to the end, one point that goes down. Now with my black arrow, I select them both, and there is a feature right up here. Next to the thickness of your line, it says uniform. This is called a width profile. Usually lines have the same width, same width, same width. This one has a thin to thick to thin. So I'm going to select them both with my black arrow. Go up to next to the stroke is the width, and I'm going to make it pointed on both ends. Instead of 1, I'm going to hit the up arrow and make it 3. I don't want to draw those again, so I'm going to select them with the black arrow. Click once on my reflect tool. Remember to Option or Alt click right in the middle of the face, and you flip it to the other side. Copy. If it doesn't land where you wanted, you can hit your arrow keys to nudge it around like that. And here's what I've drawn so far. Okay, I'll zoom out. And I'm well on my way to this bunny scene. The rest I will leave up to you, except for one more hint, because I swear I'm having way too much fun with this stupid bunny scene. Let's turn off my layers, and I have my plants. Okay, the plants are in front of the hill, so you would start there and create another layer on top of the hill. I will double click that, and we'll just call that front plants. Enter on a PC, return on a Mac. And now on my symbols panel, if you want just one instance of a plant, click on it once on your symbols and then drag it onto your page. If that plant is not the right size, go to your free transform. And if you do not want to distort it, which we don't, you click the top button. I've shown you that in a demo before. It's called constrain. Now when I click and drag a corner, I won't distort my plant. I will just make a proportionally larger version. Switch back to my black arrow. We'll tuck it right there. Okay, it's a little bigger, so I'll go back to my free transform, constrain, and we'll drag that corner down a little bit more like that. Go back to my black arrow, we'll move it over a little bit more, and that's good enough for me. If I want a daisy, well, I can see there's a little blade of grass right here. So let's take this little 3 blade of grass, drag it out. If it's too small, you have free transform, constrain, and drag. Black arrow to move. And they don't have to be exactly the same size. Just close enough is good enough for me. Now I take a daisy, drag it over. Go to my free transform, constrain, and I'll drag these corners out just to blow it up a little bit. Kind of like what I have on the scan. Get as close as you can. Okay, so you have all these plants. You can put them all in this one layer, front plants. And now when I put all my eyeballs together, I've got my scene going here. Remember, just like the alien scene, just like the sailboat scene, when you have everything in place, you have to put one final layer for your clipping mask. Okay, when I have everything drawn, you're going to have a big mess. See, it goes way off the page. Once you have everything drawn, the final layer, you click on the top, you create one final layer called mask. D for default colors. Go to your rectangle tool and right here, you just click and drag a box over the entire scene once you are totally done. That box is going to be your container. You turn on all your layers. Once you are totally done tracing the template, you can throw that away. You make sure if there's any layers that are locked, you unlock them. Command A on a Mac for select all. That will be Control A on a PC to select all your artwork. The mask is always at the top, and it's Just like we did on the sailboat and the alien scene, object menu, clipping mask, make. You only do this at the very end once everything has been drawn, and you have a beautiful scene right there. Just like I showed you in the past, there's nothing on these layers anymore because they all got sucked up to the top. Okay? A mask creates a group. So I can't move anything. You always do your mask at the very end. You can leave these layers there. They're not going to do anything for you anyway. Or like I showed you before, you can click the top blank layer, shift click the bottom blank layer. There's no triangle here. And you throw them in the trash. Because all you're left with is your illustration. And that's how you create an outdoor scene, but the rest is up to you. Good luck. I look forward to seeing how advanced you are in this awesome vector drawing program here in Adobe Illustrator. Can't wait to see what you come up with.